Hi, welcome back to History Recaps. On November 25, 2004, a court in Manila, Philippines, was conducting a fierce trial on a murder case. After several rounds of battles between the prosecution and the defense, the judge finally announced that the defendant was sentenced to. What happened here? This is a story about love, jealousy, cheating, forbidden love, and the love of a mother who would do everything for her son. Stephen, whose full name is Steven Alston Davies, was born in the small town of Bingham, Nottinghamshire, England. He is the eldest in the family, with two younger sisters below. His father died of illness in junior high school. As the only male in the family, Stephen took on heavy family responsibilities at a young age. But this experience didn't last long, because the mother found them a righteous stepfather, Alan. The family got along very well. Because of this, Stephen was able to put all his energy into his studies again. After graduating from university, he joined a large international company, but he was transferred from the UK headquarters and went to the Hong Kong branch to experience training, and thus far away from his hometown. Fortunately, Margaret and Ellen often visit him in Hong Kong, which keeps him from being too lonely. Although far from home, the income is far higher than in the UK, and the relative freedom gives Stephen the opportunity to realize his childhood dream of flying an airplane. Whenever the company has a long vacation, he will rush to Angeles City, Philippines from Hong Kong to participate in pilot training. The nightlife here is plentiful and the local bars are a favorite among foreign tourists. Every time he came to Angeles, Stephen would invite friends to go to the bar to have fun. Once, in a bar, he met a young girl named Evelyn Bohal. At that time, Evelyn's enchanting dancing posture instantly caught his attention. Most of the girls who work in bars come from poor families. They choose to work here because of their helplessness, and they actually earn very little money. Girls like Evelyn dance in the bar for only £1 for one night income. Therefore, the best way to change the fate and get rid of the status quo is to get the favor of foreign guests, and then follow the other party to leave here. So when Evelyn found a handsome and tall British man looking at her with interest, she immediately stepped forward to chat with him. Under the premise of being in love with a concubine, the two quickly became friendly. A few days later, Stephen redeemed Evelyn with £500, and then took her back to Hong Kong. It was a small thing in Stephen's eyes, but Evelyn felt like a dream. Because in the 1990s, Evelyn's hometown of Durham Island was so backward that it didn't even have electricity, and she had left her hometown at the age of 13 to seek a life in the bars of Angeles. To Evelyn, she was like Cinderella in reality. Stephen was the Prince Charming who redeemed her, and the prince wanted to spend the rest of her life with her, so she was a little overwhelmed with joy. Not long after returning to Hong Kong, Stephen took the opportunity of his parents to see him, formally introduced Evelyn to them, and held a simple wedding ceremony in the presence of his family. It was not until the wedding day that Stephen knew that his wife Evelyn was only 17 years old, a full 10 years younger than him. Stephen developed a stronger desire to protect his wife. After marriage, he always treated Evelyn as a little princess, and Evelyn was also very grateful and cared for Stephen. Their married life was very good and sweet. Shortly after the marriage, Stephen took a fancy to the development prospects of the Philippines, which is the hometown of his wife. After careful consideration, he resigned from his original job and partnered with several colleagues in Angeles, Philippines, and registered a company. After several years of hard work, the company has become well known locally. During this period, Evelyn gave birth to a son, a daughter and two children. At that time, in order to go to work, they had been living in the apartment rented by the company for employees, but with the birth of the child, Stephen thought it was necessary to change the living environment, so he rented a luxury villa in a high-end community, and at the same time several maids were also hired to take care of the family's daily life. Since the villa is far away from the company, it takes more than 3 hours to go back and forth, so Stephen decided to live in the original apartment when he went to work, and only come here to accompany his family on weekends, but people did not expect that misfortune suddenly. On the evening of July 18, 2002, Stephen returned to the apartment as usual. At this time, his roommate and colleague Mike had arrived home first. After they had dinner together, they went back to their rooms to sleep. In the middle of the night, the apartment was silent, and most of the residents fell asleep, but at this moment, a loud noise broke the silence. Mike opened his eyes in a daze, and immediately woke up when he saw the scene in the room. 3 strange men appeared in the bedroom, and they were pressing their weapons against his head. Then I heard one of them ask, "Is it him?" The other replied, "No." Then the three quickly exited the room and forcibly entered the next bedroom. Before long, 4 loud bangs were heard, and then everything was quiet. After that, Mike ran to the next door and saw an unforgettable scene. He immediately called the police and informed Steven's mother Margaret and stepfather Ellen of the bad news. Although the case took place in Angeles, because Steven is British, the Philippine side assigned the Makati Police Department in Manila to investigate the case. In addition, there is another most critical problem. Although the 3 suspects are all covered, if they are acquaintances of the company, Mike, who is a witness, cannot recognize them. Therefore, the police believe that the suspect is likely to be a stranger, and this is a random robbery case. However, after they investigated in this direction, they did not find any clues. At the same time, after Steven's parents came to the Philippines, they asked Mike about the specific circumstances of the incident. They thought it couldn't be a random case, but when they questioned the police simply ignored it. In fact, it can be seen from the process of the incident that the suspect is obviously going for Steven, and other circumstances at the scene can better illustrate this point. First, the suspect broke into the bedroom door, but the apartment door was intact. Second, no valuables were lost at the scene. From the above 2 points, it can be seen that the case is likely to be a hired murderer, but the police turned a blind eye to it and continued to investigate in the direction of the burglary case, and after a period of time there was no progress in the case, and the police did not investigate it. Faced with this situation, the mother, Margaret, made an astonishing decision to seek justice for her son. Through a friend's introduction, Margaret hired a private investigator. A few days later, private investigators found a videotape in Steven's desk, and the footage was truly unsightly. The footage showed that Steven and Mike and nearly 20 young girls were drinking and binge-watching at home and playing various games for minors. But strangely, judging from the timing of the filming, Steven should have been on a business trip that day, at least that's what he told his wife, Evelyn. In addition, through the investigation, we learned that after Steven came to the Philippines to open a company, his annual income was about £60,000. In addition to household expenses, he gives Evelyn £1,000 a month in pocket money. However, in the months before the incident, Steven gave her less and less pocket money, and then it disappeared. According to the results of the investigation, people have to doubt the relationship of the couple, as if there is a problem. However, Margaret knew her son very well, and Steven was a very responsible man since he was a child, so she thought it was a bit strange. Plus, the last time I and my husband visited our son in the Philippines, I noticed that my daughter-in-law, Evelyn, often avoided them and hid in a corner to call or text. She didn't care at the time, but now it's a little weird to think about it. So Margaret tasked the detective with investigating her daughter-in-law. The detective was very conscientious. While monitoring Evelyn 24 hours a day, she also launched a side-by-side attack on her friends and neighbors. Only 2 days later, there were new clues. Evelyn's eldest daughter, Jessica, has reached kindergarten age. Steven plans to send her to the best aristocratic kindergarten in the area, but because he is busy, he leaves this matter to his wife. After that, except for regularly handing over the tuition fees to his wife, he never asked about it. It just so happened that the children of Steven's neighbors also attended the kindergarten, but the neighbors never met Jessica at school. By chance, the neighbors told Steven, who was home for the weekend, of the doubts in their hearts. When they heard that Steven went to the school to check, they found that Evelyn didn't send her daughter to school at all. Tuition was also taken away by her. Because of this incident, Steven directly stopped Evelyn's pocket money. Not long after, Evelyn actually took her wedding ring to a pawnshop to sell. This matter is too suspicious. According to the income of the local residents, the annual income is only about £1,000, and Steven will give Evelyn £1,000 of pocket money every month, plus her harsh withholding. Tuition, in theory, she can't be short of money to the point of selling rings. So, where did Evelyn spend her money? Detectives then followed Evelyn for 2 days and found that Evelyn had been meeting 2 men. In order not to frighten the snakes, the detectives just secretly took pictures of them and did not take any action. When Margaret got the photo and went to Mike, he was shocked to see the photo, because he recognized one of the men in the photo, the one who broke into the apartment that night. Hearing this, Margaret was a little excited, and she could finally bring the murderer to justice. But when she brought the clues she found to the Philippine police and asked them to investigate the two men, the other side ignored them. However, Margaret knew very well what the crux of the problem was, so the police finally took action after she made an appointment and promised to reimburse the expenses incurred during the investigation. According to the police investigation, the two men are Arnold and his colleague Alexander. The two men are security guards, and the person identified by Mike is Arnold. In addition, the police also found that Arnold's usual consumption level is very high, which obviously does not match his income. Based on the above 2 points, the police immediately arrested Arnold and Alexander. At this moment, the private detective asked Margaret and his wife to leave the Philippines as soon as possible, because there were 3 suspects, and only 2 were caught. Although Margaret also believed that the detective's concerns were not unreasonable, when the case was found, it must have something to do with her daughter-in-law, so when she left the Philippines, she wanted to take her granddaughter Jessica and grandson Joshua with her. Fortunately, the previous investigations were carried out in secret, and Evelyn did not know about it, so she had no defense against Margaret. One morning, Margaret lied to her daughter-in-law that she wanted to spend the weekend with her 2 children and let her take this opportunity to go out to relax, and Evelyn agreed without hesitation. However, Margaret only saw her granddaughter Jessica, because after Steven's accident, her grandson Joshua was sent to her grandparents' house to take care of her. If she wanted her grandson back at this time, it would definitely arouse Evelyn's suspicion. In desperation, she could only return to the UK with her granddaughter and son's ashes. But the occurrence of this incident also indicates that the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law have completely lost their faces, so how can they bring their grandson back to the UK under such circumstances? The private detective went to Evelyn's hometown, the very backward island of Durham, and met Joshua's grandfather Marcelino there. He told Marcelino that Durham Island is a poor and backward place. If the child grows up here, it is difficult to have a good future, but if he is sent to the British grandparents' house, they will send him to school, and would provide him with all his daily needs. Marcelino was persuaded. In this way, 2 months after leaving the Philippines, Margaret met her long-awaited grandson Joshua at Heathrow Airport in London. However, there was no progress in the case at this time. After Arnold was arrested, neither Evelyn nor the identity of the 3rd suspect was revealed, and the police were not interested in investigating. In fact, Margaret was mentally prepared for such a result. No matter what the police planned, she would never let Evelyn go, not to mention that she had no scruples now that her grandson had returned. In addition, in the process of rescuing the grandson, the detective found a lot of clues. Since Steven was not only kind to Evelyn, but also generous to her family, in addition to financial assistance, he also contributed to the construction of a brick house for his father-in-law on Durham Island. At that time, the residents of Durham Island lived in thatched cottages. This brick house was the most luxurious residence on the island. Evelyn's family was very grateful to Steven. That's why Evelyn's family is enthusiastic when the detective goes to the island to ask for a baby. Her cousin Gina revealed key information to him, saying that the arrested suspect, Arnold, was actually her sister's lover, and that Evelyn was so obsessed with him that she spent almost all her money on him. Steven later found out about it, so he cut off Evelyn's pocket money and warned her to stop contacting Arnold or divorce her. After learning this clue, Margaret believes that this may be the reason why Steven was killed. If Steven dies, then Evelyn will inherit the inheritance and then fly with her lover. But this is just a guess, and there is no substantive evidence, which is not enough for the police to arrest people, and more direct evidence needs to be found. To this end, Margaret, who is far away in the UK, constantly communicated with Evelyn's family through text messages, trying to get more useful clues from these people. In the process, she and Evelyn's aunt Asuncion became good friends. I never thought that Asuncion would become the final key to solving the case. After Steven's case, the Philippine police had conducted some routine interviews with Evelyn and her family, but every time the police went to interview, one person was always absent. Later, after Arnold was arrested, this people just disappeared. The police didn't care about this matter at all, but in the eyes of private investigators, this person is likely to be guilty of a guilty conscience. This person is Robin, the husband of Evelyn's cousin Gina, and it happens that Gina is Asuncion's daughter, which means that Robin is Asuncion's son-in-law. Margaret hopes that Asuncion can come forward to find Robin and find out whether it has anything to do with Steven's murder. Asuncion, who is also a mother, understands the pain of losing her child. She not only accepted the commission, but also successfully completed the task. After evidences found Robin and persuaded him for a long time, Robin finally spoke. Robin said that on July 18, 2002, around 11 o'clock on the night of the crime, Evelyn suddenly said that she would take him to a job to earn money. He followed Evelyn into the car and found that there were two other people in the car, Arnold and Alexander. At that time, he didn't know what to do. When the car came to the downstairs of an apartment, Evelyn took out a key and told the specific floor and house number. Then she said, "Steven is a millionaire, and as long as he dies, all the money will be mine." In this way, Robin followed Arnold and the others upstairs inexplicably, while Evelyn stayed in the car to watch the wind. It was Arnold who really did it. After everything was over, the four drove away from the scene. Arnold and Alexander were sentenced to life in prison for Robin's testimony, while Evelyn was arrested pending trial. Although Robin was also arrested for his involvement in the case, he was released after only 1 year in the detention center because of his merits. On November 25, 2004, 2 years after Steven's murder, Evelyn's trial began. In court, Evelyn insisted that she was innocent and had no lover relationship with Arnold. Robin's testimony was nonsense. She slept at home that night and never went out at all. But no one paid any attention to her, because Margaret prepared 14 witnesses for her. Combined with the testimony of these people, Evelyn can be fully proved that Evelyn is the mastermind behind the scenes. In the end, the judge convicted Evelyn and sentenced her to 40 years in prison without parole. The case has come to an end. After 2 years of hardships and £55,000, Margaret finally got justice for her son, but they did not have the joy of victory, because Steven never came back. What do you guys think? Did she really kill her husband? Let me know in the comments. Please subscribe, like and hit the bell.